Welcome back, everybody, to the Smart Spaces Simplified Podcast. Today, joining me is Bryan Eaton from Grist House. Bryan, you want to say hello?
Yeah, hello everybody. Happy to be here.
Thanks for joining me. So today, the general concept is we just want to talk a little bit about how technology enhances your business's environment. Maybe go through some of the specifics of what each of those are and maybe how they've independently impacted it. But first of all, just tell us a little about what your business is and maybe the evolution of it and how you got started, what was your inspiration, and where it is today.
Yeah, so I said from Grist House Craft Brewery. My brother-in-law Kyle and I founded the business. Got started back in 2012. We're a craft brewery located in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. At the time, craft beer was just coming on the scene in Pittsburgh, and so when we got started, we were the 8th craft brewery in Allegheny County. Now there's over 46, and so we always enjoyed home brewing, wanted to start our own business, and so started working towards that, found a building, and officially opened our doors in 2014. We focus, we brew all of our own beer. We're well known for our hazy IPAs, especially our Hazadelic Juice Grenade. We also do some very unique fruited sours, along with a wide range of different beers. We always pride ourselves in basically having something for everybody. Is the goal, and so we also started out not only brewing but as a tap room and tried to create a unique space for people to come and enjoy our beers. So not only did we wholesale distribution out to retail bars, accounts, stuff like that, but also really focused on bringing people into our space and creating a unique space for people to enjoy our beer.
People and animals.
And animals, yeah. We're well known as a very dog-friendly brewery, so family-friendly and dog brewery. We've always wanted it to be basically like you're heading to a buddy's house and hanging out in the backyard,
You've done well in accomplishing that.
Thanks.
For sure. All right, so for some background purposes, we met, I don't know, a few years ago, 3, 4, 5-ish years ago.
There,
yeah. And you were looking to expand their Millville facility.
Yep.
And we talked about some technology enhancements. So generally speaking, what Elite Media has contributed to your space is some TV upgrades, some audio upgrades, some Wi-Fi upgrades, cameras, some general network infrastructure and things like that. So how do you think our relationship or your relationship in general with an AV company has impacted or changed your business?
Yeah, so when we started out, we were obviously kind of a shoestring, by the bootstraps type of organization. And we started out, our space was small, but we had a larger outdoor space. So first thing, obviously, that we did was put music, sound into the space. But we did it, basically as someone would at their house, right?
In their garage.
In the garage, yeah, exactly. A simple, home theater kind of system, ran, speaker wires. I did it all myself. I really have very little AV knowledge, so it's basically just kind of figured it out as we went, and it worked, but it wasn't great. And, we blew out many, AV systems, we were just buying them off the shelf at Best Buy, and I think we went through 3 or 4 of them, blowing them out and breaking speakers, and the sound was never great. We never had zones. We weren't able to control anything, things of that nature. We also added TVs. My brother-in-law, my wife, his wife, half of our staff all went to Penn State, so we're a big Penn State bar. That's one thing that we've kind of pushed, and so that obviously requires TVs to show the games and stuff. So we had TVs set up in the space, but nothing was synced. Everything was, individually controlled, things like that. So it wasn't a very fluid and kind of seamless operation. So, it's little things, it's big things that we notice, but as a customer, even psychologically, it can kind of deter you from a space if, the sound isn't right, if, the TVs aren't synced perfectly, stuff like that. And so as we were growing, we realized that we needed to put a bit more, effort and funding, or whatever you want to call it, basically into that AV infrastructure.
Resources
Into that. So that's when you and I met, and we kind of walked through the space, and we were also building a new tap room on the facility at the time. And the idea was we needed upgrade the original space that we had with the option to then expand on when our new building was up. And so, yeah, the first part of the project was getting TVs and speakers and everything like that into our original space. And then about a year later, I think, we then were we scaled it to the new space, which included also the networking and stuff like that. But, having good sound, controllable music, stuff like that in a space, especially for a brewery or really for any restaurant, is big. The customer might not notice it, but it definitely affects their experience. So putting that those resources and that extra money into that makes a lot of sense. And we've seen a dramatic improvement, not only for the customer experience, but also when we're trying to do games, football games, sporting events, stuff like that are bringing people in. Having control over that is a big thing. And so the system you guys set up with being able to run the entire facility essentially off of a tablet, being able to control volumes, being able to have different sources for TVs, and not having to go around to each individual TV was a huge improvement that we felt has improved our business dramatically.
Yeah, it's when you have easier control, it's a time saving thing. Like your bartender isn't running around trying to adjust channels and volumes. They can make you money, right?
Yep. They're supposed to be dealing with the customer, and so them having to deal with it. And it's one of the things, like anybody who's a small business owner in the hospitality industry realizes that, like, you can have great bartenders or great managers and stuff like that, but you as the owner, you're seeing every little thing, and sometimes they're going to miss these things. And so having the ability for them to walk in at the beginning of the day and basically hit one button, it turns on all the TVs, it has them programmed to the right channels, it sets the volumes at, a good starting point. It can be adjusted later on, but that's one less thing they have to worry about, and one less thing that I have to worry about that they're screwing up or, they're not doing right.
And time is money, right? So they're not taking 15, 20, 30 minutes at the beginning of the day to like get the system on and working. They can walk in, press a button, boom, go do my job.
100%.
Right?
Yep.
So how do you believe that audio specifically enhances a space? In what parts of the audio system do you believe are important? Is it the music that you can play? Is it the zoning? Is it the quality of the sound? Is it all of the above? How has from what you had to what you have changed, and maybe what are some of the reactions that you've seen from the customers before and after?
So I would say all of the above, but I think the biggest two things is really the source you're going to play, right? That's a personal preference. So like anybody can do that, but the ability to have zones and volume control and change different things is a huge impact on the customer experience, especially now we're able to basically rent out certain spaces. And so being able to have, if somebody comes in and they want to rent a space, but they want to play their own music or their own playlist, we have that ability, right? The rest of the facility, the rest of our, the main bar and the outdoor space can have the music that we want played, that we've chosen, and at the volumes that we want. But then if somebody's renting out the original brew house, the original tap room, they can have their own playlist. The volume can be controlled at the level that they want. We can cut that music out without affecting the rest of the customers. So having that control is a huge benefit to just the overall experience that we're trying to provide to the customers.
And the crowd flow throughout the day. You I believe would need the ability to adjust different volumes in different areas. So you have an outdoor space, which a speaker outside is completely different sound and a needed sound level than a speaker within an enclosed building. So if the building fills up, you need to turn that one up, but maybe no one's outside, or the outside is getting busy because the more people that come in and they start talking, and then you have to turn the music up, and then they talk louder. Then you have to turn the music up, and they talk louder, right? So the separation of space type and or space within the space, I believe being able to adjust those volumes can enhance the experience. Because if too many people get in there and you're like, I don't want to turn it up outside because it'll be too loud inside, then you're compromising your experience.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that you guys steered us towards when we were doing the layout and everything was our outdoor space is so large that we ended up having to put 4 different zones just for the outdoor space. And so that was, a zone out towards the entrance. So when people were coming in, the volumes are drastically different at that entrance than they might have to be once people are basically in the space, right? So you don't want to be blasting them out as soon as they're coming in the door. But once you said, you get bodies in the space, they start to make more noise, and you need a larger volume, output. We have kind of a raised patio area, and that has, the speakers are actually closer to the people in that space. So being able to basically fine tune what volumes are at in certain spaces is a huge advantage to basically creating that experience that we want for the customers.
Yeah, and they're good quality sound. You have good speakers, and you have lots of them.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Because it's about,
that was the other thing. It was basically like, let's not try to do it with 2 or 3 speakers.
Yeah.
Let's make sure we have plenty of speakers so you're not blowing out. I think most of the system we only have to run at 40%. You're not stressing out the speakers. You're getting a good high quality sound because
correct.
There's enough of them.
And your goal, and our goal when we talked initially, is to have an immersive sound experience. So if you can walk through the space and there's really no dead zones. And that takes a lot of speakers. Speakers are very much like lights. You wouldn't put one light in the building and try to light up the whole place. You put lots of lights. So speakers aren't much different. You put lots of them in, you can play them at a lower volume, and you get coverage.
Yeah.
Good. So what about displays or TVs or monitors? So I don't think it was a very big focus when you first opened.
No.
And then I think you had some epiphany to say, oh, okay, well, a TV could equal dollars. And so we added more televisions, and in your space specifically, they're versatile because they can do television and or menu and or digital signage. So talk a little bit about when that switch flipped for you, and maybe what the reactions you're getting from the customers before and after in terms of the video system as well.
Yeah, so like going back to the beginning with craft beer, a lot of spaces were going after it's a gathering space, but it's not a sports bar, right? And so we started out with essentially one TV, and so that was essentially we were only doing it for, Penn State games, and being in Pittsburgh, obviously the occasional game somebody wants that on, but we didn't want, our original thought was we didn't want, it to be a Buffalo Wild Wings, right? But then as we kind of grew and the space became larger, we became more well known as the Penn State bar in Allegheny County. We realized that having multiple TVs not only gave us the opportunity to get more people in to watch the games, also when there's bigger sporting events, Pens are going to the playoffs and stuff like that, Steelers games, things of that nature. It gets more people in, but then I always hated going into a space and you sit down at the bar and they have Fox News on the TV with the subtitles going or something like that, right? And it's like, well, why do you even have this on? So what we started to do was we kind of bootstrapped with Google Chromecast and different things on TVs to be able to show ads. And so the great thing was once you guys came in, you're like, well, we can basically give you the ability to have multiple sources off of, 2 Chromecasts basically in a unit, and then cable boxes that we're then able to display on any TV that we want. So 90% of the time, our TVs are basically displaying digital ads. So it's a way for us to get information to the customers that they might not even notice is occurring, right? They're sitting there, but they're seeing those ads occasionally. But then somebody comes in and say they're sitting outside and they want to watch a particular game. We have the ability to put, that game, and it's actually great. March Madness is starting this week, so we have a lot of people come on, and certain people certain games are cheering for certain teams, so we're able to say, hey, we're not going to put it on every single TV throughout the space, but you're hanging out at this table, this TV is right near you, we can put that game on for you. The only time we kind of have a rule, the only time we do sound is for Penn State games, so we never have sporting events with sound going
audio,
through them. So we're able to have our audio, our music playing, but then we can have the TV set to whatever, sporting event or anything people want to watch. And so that's opened up the opportunity, now we do, masters watch parties and stuff like that. People actually rent out the space for certain sporting events on days we're closed or something like that to actually throw parties and be able to have the ability to show exactly what they want. So that control is great.
Yeah. So if you were advising another business owner in the food and beverage business, what would you tell them the importance of tech is? Is it a necessity or is it a luxury? And are they likely to see an ROI on that?
I would 100% say it's a necessity. It's something I wish we would have put more resources behind in the beginning. I mean, we were able to get by with what we had, but we definitely would have seen a quicker return on investment. I think we would have been able to get more crowds for certain events and things like that. But even if it's just as simple as the audio, the speakers, right? Just something as simple as that can make a huge difference in your space. Say you want to go that route if you don't want TVs in your space, right? You know, walking into a silent room, or bar, like that's just not comfortable for a customer, right? They expect something, and even if it's just a background noise, having the ability to have high quality sound and controllable sound in a space is it truly is, it's essential. Like,
It'll pay for itself.
It will 100%, yeah. In no time.
There's got to be it would be tough to measure, but there's got to be a client retention within the moment aspect of quality entertainment value, whether it's video or audio. It enhances their experience, and they won't want to leave, even if it's subconsciously.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest things is, and we've learned over the years is, one example is sometimes you bring in a band or sometimes you'll do a DJ and something like that, and if that music, if they're too loud or they're too quiet or they're not playing music that's appealing to everybody, you will see numbers start to drop. They'll leave.
You can't control it.
Exactly. Right. And so that's always a gamble, especially for us in that space, on a day-to-day general basis, having the ability to pick a playlist that appeals to the most amount of people, and you're able to have it at a level where it's there and people can hear it. Most people aren't there just to listen to the house music, right? But when you're sitting there, you're hanging out with your friends, if that cuts out, it's noticeable. They notice it, right? And so that obviously says something that like not having it would not want people to hang around. So you have to have that back there. You have to have that music, and it has to be at the right volume. And that basically just keeps people to hang around longer. And if one person, if every single person that walks in the door hangs out for us one more beer longer, in a week you could pay off that sound system, right? Like that's the thing. So creating that space where people want to be, and that's one of those things that subconsciously it does work.
The Penn State events alone have paid for.
Oh yeah. Just one good Penn State game, and we can make a few more investments on the side.
It's an interesting point you make that I had never thought of. If the sound cuts off, they know it, right? So it's subconsciously creating a vibe.
Yeah.
And they don't even know it. But if you cut the music off, everybody be like,
what happened?
What happened?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's an interesting point.
And so having a system you can rely on is huge. And so that was the thing we ran into when I was, piecemealing these, home audio systems together to cover a space that they were not meant to do. Yeah. And all of a sudden the music would cut out mid-shift, Luckily at that time I was practically living there, right? Had a cot in the freaking back. But, if I was at home and all of a sudden the bartender said the music's out, that means I got to go down there and try to fix mid-shift what's going on, because you will see people leave, and that's not good for business. So having a system you can rely on that doesn't cut out, that, you can control is great.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, I was going to ask you what you would do differently from the start to the end. I mean, we already kind of answered that. You would have done it sooner.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, definitely. And even if it wasn't the system we have today, just funding-wise, just to be able to start with something and working with, folks like you, like being able to come and be like, all right, well, like here's our budget, like, and we want to expand on this, but what can we do to get started? And then, as cash flow gets better, how can we then expand upon that system? I think that would have been a better move for us in the beginning to do it that way.
And it's not cheap. I mean, relatively speaking, it's not a cheap investment, and it is a decision that needs made. And if you do it on the cheap, that's the experience you're going to get. And it's tough, because I do believe a lot of hospitality owners look at it as a luxury and not a necessity. Oh, if I have good food and good drinks, people will come. Okay, they might come, but will they come back?
And will they stay?
Right? And those are the things that make those things happen.
100%. And I mean, honestly, the amount of money we spent in the first, 5 years piecemealing that system together, it's the buy once, cry once thing, right? And so that's why, you've worked with us. We now have 2 additional tap rooms, and right off the bat, we didn't even open the doors without, getting a sound system in, and having very similar to what we had at our original location. Because I just knew we're coming into the space. This has to be done and done right, so we're
Right.
able to control that. That's a thing that obviously wasn't a luxury. I knew it as a necessity
Yes.
when I was opening those additional spaces.
Right. Yeah. And they're scaled smaller,
Mhm.
and relatively speaking, you made a decent investment into those spaces. And when you asked me for pricing, I give you pricing. I'm like, oh man, this might be a little more than he wants to spend, but you're like, yes, do it.
Yeah.
Because you understand the value associated with it.
Yeah, because like I said, if it keeps people around longer, then
Yeah.
obviously that's going to be more money they spend, and it starts to pay itself off. And
Right.
then once you have it, it's not like it needs changed
Right.
or upgraded or anything. It's
Right.
it's a very stable system.
Yeah.
So.
So we have a new facility opening in Collier.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's a big one.
Big one, yeah. So that's our new production facility, tap room, kitchen,
Yeah.
event space,
Oh, yeah.
the whole shebang. And so we knew that going in. But there's the fun thing I like about that is we're going to be able to work with you guys on a different aspect, which is basically live music and setting up a stage and
Concert venue.
and a concert venue
Yeah.
essentially. And so that'll be getting into more technology I don't know about, but I know is going to be
Yeah.
necessary to put
Yes.
in.
Yes.
And so it's going to be great. But again, that was also like much bigger space, but we knew exactly what we wanted to do when we went into it, right? We knew where
Yep.
there had to be these TVs. We had to have it on the system. We knew where the speakers needed to be. And then, also you guys, the security side too, we, didn't
Yep,
talk
cameras.
about cameras, but,
Yep.
that's another, for that big of a facility,
Mhm.
it's like we need cameras everywhere.
Yeah,
And
bigger
so-
space, bigger investment.
Yep.
You understand the value. You lean on us just to help go through what we believe is, we talk through people flow with you. We talk about, acoustics and we really design the space together because it's your space and it's my information
Yeah.
and we come to a conclusion together.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
what's going to work best, and
Yeah.
and that's a big thing. Leaning on that is basically like zoning different things out
Mm-hmm.
and being like, well, how our original space operated and how we like to do it. So you guys came up with a lot of great suggestions, like, oh, you should probably look at doing this for this space, this zone,
Mm-hmm.
different things like that. So we have the amount of control that we need to be able to be versatile, and the entire system can be flexible in what we're trying to do
scalable.
with the space and scalable.
That's my favorite word. Scalable is my favorite
Scalable's
word,
great,
right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
why would I pigeonhole myself so that I can't sell you something later?
Yeah,
You know?
100%. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah. Well, thanks for joining me. I appreciate your time, and I think there's a lot of great information here.
Yeah.
And I will be seeing you soon.
My pleasure,
Either at a current facility or a working one.
Our new one.
Our new one, yes.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, buddy.
All right,
Appreciate
thank
your
you.
time.
Yeah, no problem.